The Puy de Dôme returns with action on both fronts, incredibly steep ramps. We had a huge breakaway, bee stings, GC attacks. The last time they used this climb was decades ago. It's just outside of Clermont-Ferrand, and there's no real severe climbs before it. It's up and down all day, very hot conditions, and the final climb is in two parts. The first 5.5 Ks at 7%, but the last 4.5 Ks at over 11%. Who would get the better of the two, of Jonas, Vingegaard and Pogacar? It looks like a two-horse race. Who would want to jump in the breakaway? And today, the first move went. Campenaerts jumped off, and we had this break with multiple teammates from multiple teams. It got blocked up very quickly, and then all of a sudden they had a minute. That's right, we got Paulus, Moritz, Berthet, who was good on Marie Blanc, Izagirre with Jorgensen, a teammate, Total with 2, Astana with 2, Israel with 2, with Mike Woods, most importantly, making this breakaway. And Asgreen, Quickstep, Trek with Pedersen, they missed it for their skinny boys, Schelmoser and Alaphilippe, so they chased in vain for quite a long time. But it was, the gap was too big, and when you've got riders like Guillaume Bovin or, other riders in the breakaway pulling for their teammates or everyone rolling through to establish the gap, it eventually got blocked up again. And so the gap went out to over 16 minutes at one point. Jumbo-Visma, neither they nor UAE chased for the stage, interestingly enough. And so here we go. When the break gets too much of a gap and there's no pressure from behind, why would you keep pulling if you're in that group? And Jorgensen, by the way, he had a bee sting. This wasn't too funny for him at the time. He had to ask, can I get something for this? Because, he got stung on the head by a bee. The funny thing was, though, one of the first attacks came from Guillaume Bovin, and he's got the favourite in the group, Mike Woods. Mike Woods is the perfect finish for him if you've seen him ride on these steep ramps before. And it's Bovin anticipating, and he should be the bodyguard for Woods. So whilst Woods gets to sit in the group, whilst Bovin's ahead, it kind of encourages attacks that now Woods has to mark this. Woods has to go because Bovin's just been caught. He'd then get dropped quickly after this in this attack phase. And basically every single rider in this group except maybe Berthet want to get away from Mike Woods, want to get ahead of him before the Puy de Dôme because they know they can't beat him on the steep ramps. He came 5th and 6th in the GC group in the steep Basque stages, and Jorgensen's the one that breaks the elastic, going solo Fuga de la Fuga whilst Bovin's drop. So now who will pull for Mike Woods? He gets re-attacked again by Paulus, Moritz, De La Cruz and Bergado, who have teammates in their group behind who are now not working. So the Woods chase, there's not many riders wanting to chase. Moritz makes a bit of a meal of the chase, though, and it goes from 10 seconds, and by the time they get to the Puy de Dôme, it explodes because Jorgensen's just tapping out his pace. Yes, there is a cost of being out front whilst the Astana mechanic wanted to lose his fingers, but you're avoiding all the attacking behind, and the gap goes to over a minute, and 140 to the Mike Woods group. So at this point, it looked like, as they got to the base of Puy de Dôme, with the gap at 142, and you see how it's in two parts, this climb, Mike Woods was in big trouble to win this stage because, he got fortunate. Campenaerts got on the front and actually managed the gap back in the GC group. Nothing really had happened all day, and there was now the fight for position into Puy de Dôme. Bardet entered in good position, so did Pogacar, but it was Jumbo-Visma who took up the first section of the climb with Van Baarle, Van Aert, Kelderman. But back to the breakaway, here you can see it's 2:05, and there's only 4. Okay, it's 4Ks, it is steep. But now is Woods going to be able to close 2 minutes plus on Jorgensen on this final section? Jorgensen, who won Tour of Oman, defending on a steep climb, Green Mountain. You'll have seen that video earlier in February. De La Cruz now pacing for Lutsenko in the group behind, so Woods is benefiting from that. And we don't see Woods for a long time. We cut back to the GC group. All the domestiques are spraying water on their GC leaders because it's hot conditions, and Kelderman starts to tap out a steady, hard pace with Vingegaard and Pogacar deeper in the group onto the funicular section, the narrow road up Puy de Dôme, and Jorgensen starts to stall a little bit with Moritz attacking Paulus. He starts to gain time. But see that man in the distance? He looks like he's close. He's still pretty far at this point in terms of time. That's Mike Woods. We didn't see his attack on TV. He gets moving now when he's on his preferred gradient, so he saved his energy, and he's at 125 in about a kilometer. UAE into the final steep section, try to position Pogacar, but it's once again Jumbo-Visma who come to the front with Kelderman, then Sepp Kuss, obviously trying to do the real damage now and thin this out for their leader Jonas Vingegaard in the yellow jersey, as Pogacar gives himself a quick cool down just before the final battle. And here's that group. All of a sudden, Kuss is pulling. We've got Kuss, Vingegaard, Pogacar, Hindley defending his third, Simon Yates, Pidcock and Rodriguez. I can't tell which one is which from the overhead like this. And Adam Yates. Woods gets to Morich. See you later. Goes past him. The gap's 22 seconds with only a K left. And if you could do the maths with Woods' rate of improvement on this climb, you knew there was only going to be one winner. Goes past Jorgensen. Heartbreak for the American. Canadian on American violence. Mike Woods goes clear. He knows it's coming for his biggest win of his career. A man who's podiumed world championships and monuments regularly and now delivers for Israel Premier Tech, who was so close in the Giro and now win a Tour de France stage in week 1. But back in the GC group, it had actually been status quo. Still Kuss pacing. Okay, yeah, Yates and Hindley were dropped, but where was the Pogacar and Vingegaard attack? Pidcock's looking around and he's like, actually, we're moving up spots here, me and Rodriguez, because Hindley and Yates are dropped, and so is Gadou and a whole host of other GC guys. He goes to the front because Kuss is slowed down to just sort of keep it moving, not an attack, but maybe helping Rodriguez. Simon Yates throws in a little dig, sees he's marked by Pogacar, stops. Pogacar doesn't counter. Pidcock goes back to the front. Simon Yates throws in a more serious mountain stages we've had this week, especially on terrain like this, where maybe Vingegaard would have normally had the advantage. So Pogacar takes 8 seconds. Vingegaard didn't crack, but Mike Woods wins that stage ahead of Pierre Latour Morich, and then Jorgensen didn't even finish on the podium because he was all spent up at the end. Here's what Woods had to say at the end of the stage. But Vingegaard keeps the GC lead, as I said, but it's trimmed down to 17 seconds, a bigger gap now out to third, and Hindley on 2:40. But his gap was shaved also by Rodriguez and the Yates brothers, and Pidcock too performed well.